Hi, and welcome to the third episode of The Myth of Hockey. I think you're starting to get what I'm talking about here. It's mostly about goaltending is the myth of hockey. In fact, it's a large myth. Look at these names right here. What do they have in common? It's pretty simple, right? Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame. In fact, many people would tell you that these five are probably in the top 10 of goalies in the Hall of Fame. So this is huge. And basically the myth of hockey is there's a lot of information that we weren't told and the experts didn't tell us, but I don't think they knew. It's not that they're holding any information back. I don't think they looked deep into the stats like I have done over 20 years of research. So this is really interesting. So I wanted to see what happened when these five guys were replaced, either through retirement, which was just once of all the stats that I'm about to show you, just one retirement. And you can't say, well, he was old because he retired. The season I'm talking about is Patrick Waugh in 02-03. He had really good stats. In fact, in his last year, he had one of his best statistical seasons ever. He was voted fourth in Vezina and probably should have been second in the Vezina voting because Brodeur won that year and his stats were, he hardly got tested. So the rest of it was either trade or long-term injury. So this is what happened. These guys played, when I added up these specific seasons, played 331 games, okay? They won 199 times, 199 wins. They only lost 96 games, and they tied 38 games, okay? For a losing percentage, I like to do loss percentage because, with the ties. So they only lost 29% of their starts. That's amazing. Oh, and by the way, the save percentage was 914. Okay? So what happened when these guys were replaced by their backups? Oh man, I'm sorry when I give you about this because it's mind-blowing that we weren't told this by, again, the experts. So there were 7 journeymen, and I'm not even going to bother writing down their names because it doesn't really matter. I'll tell you who they were, though. They were Stevenson, replacing Perrant, Bunny Larocque, replacing Dryden and Heron, replacing Waugh was Abisher, David, replacing Hasek was Martin Briand, and replacing Brodeur was Clemenson or Weeks, okay? So the names I just mentioned are obviously not Hall of Famers. They're all journeymen, basically. So what happened when those journeymen I just mentioned replaced these Hall of Famers? Well, they played 351 games. So that's a large sample size and more games than the so-called greats, okay? So what's your guess? I'd like to stop right here. What's your guess? 199 wins, again, virtually the same. What do you figure? Like, what what would your guess be? I'm just going to tell you. Let's just keep it simple. Well, these guys that I just mentioned, the journeymen, they won 205 games. Yes, they played more, but that's amazing. They lost 97. One more loss, and they tied 47. That's crazy. For a loss percentage of 27%. The backups, the journeymen, lost only 27%, replacing these guys. Look how similar these numbers are. Shouldn't these numbers have been way down? The save percentage was, yes, a little bit lower, but it was still 9-10%. Again, I'm sorry to laugh, but why weren't we told this? This is huge. This is instrumental. This counts. Because if these guys were so great and so dominant and so amazing, why, when they were replaced by journeymen, did these guys do just as good? These numbers should look like, I don't know, 100 wins and 200 losses and whatever. Not this good. And if you've missed my previous episodes, my very first, 914 out of 1,000 shots versus 910 out of 1,000. These so-called greats only stopped 4 more shots every 1,000. That's every basically 32 games. There's no greatness there. Like, imagine looking at Gretzky and Guy Lafleur and Mike Bossy and Ovechkin. Imagine subtracting their goals with journeyman left wingers and centermen. There wouldn't be a difference of 4 over 32 games. It would be massive. This has to tell us something. And where's the hockey world? Why did they miss this? Why did we not look deeper? We just assume because, oh, by the way, if you look at all these teams, maybe not quite Hasek, but the other guys, their offenses were really good. They were in the top 10 in goals scored for. Now, maybe, again, not the Sabres, but Martin Brodeur, who replaced Hasek, had great stats considering he was replacing the Dominator. I'm sorry, stay tuned for more. I didn't even include Fuhr in that. There's a bunch of goalies I didn't even include in this because I wanted to keep it simple. Anyways, stay tuned for more Myth of Hockey, which I think you get now is goaltending is the myth of hockey. Bye for now.